Official Podcast, like a Sweet 16 edition of the nation's official podcast, as the Red Raiders won their first two games in the NCAA Tournament this week, therefore putting themselves in the Sweet 16 out in San Francisco, California, after beating UNC Wilmington and a very tough Drake team coached by Ben McCullum, who is no longer the coach. We can get into some of that if you'd like. But Blake, first off, it's hard to get here. Let's appreciate that the fact that the Red Raiders are here. But I think those of us that have watched this team and watched 20 Big 12 games, we're pretty confident that this would be the end result.
Yeah, TJ, credit to Grant McCasland and this team, these players. They've had a great year, right? And at this point, you just need to enjoy the ride. Like you said, it is hard to get to a Sweet 16. I think our basketball program has risen to a point where the bare minimum expectation on a yearly basis is to make the tournament. And then, I think this fan base is getting to a point where we expect to win at least one game, if not two games, and get through the first weekend. TJ, this is their fourth Sweet 16 in the last 7 tournaments, going back to 2018. And with 3 different head coaches, right? With Chris Beard, Mark Adams, and then now Grant McCasland. So this program has, I think, and this Sweet 16, I think, solidifies it on a national level. I think a lot of Red Raiders have been there where they were calling this program a bona fide top 15, top 20 program on a yearly basis in college basketball. But you can't deny the results at this point. I mean, the fact that they continue to make the tournament, the fact that they continue to be competitive in the NIL era, the fact that they have now made their 4th Sweet 16, it's not easy to do, TJ. And a lot of credit deserves to these guys. And TJ, the thing that I think is the most encouraging about this team is they find different ways to win games, right? And we're going to get into that, but I'm so proud of what they were able to accomplish this past weekend. And lo and behold, you mentioned it last week on the podcast that we seem to always run into 3 teams, right? The Florida Gators, the Michigan Wolverines, and the Arkansas Razorbacks, and that's who they're going to face on Thursday night.
Coach Calipari. And, man, I'm not going to lie. I heard a lot about the SEC this year, and I knew they were off to a bad start. I did not know that they had righted the ship and were even going to make the tournament. I'm so tuned into the Big 12, rightfully so, right? Watching all our games. I try to catch other Big 12 games, if I can here and there, but I knew they had started out pretty bad, and I just figured they weren't going to make the tournament. But this is it's a Coach Cal team. It's an athletic team, and we better bring our A game. And I'm tired of losing to Arkansas, so this is for the bowl game.
Well, do you want to go ahead and jump into the Arkansas game? You want to talk about this past weekend first? Whichever way you want to go.
I'm tired of running into Arkansas. We need to beat them. But let's start with UNC Wilmington and how we played there. Kerwin Walton was in fuego that night. No Chance McMillan all weekend. D5 was still – he's playing well, but you could tell that he's still not 100% right. And I don't know that you're in the Sweet 16 without that flurry of threes from Kerwin Walton on the other night.
You're not, DJ. Unfortunately, Christian Anderson,
my guy,
for the first time all year in 2 straight games, looked like freshman. Now, there's been some reports that he might have been battling through the flu and was playing more minutes than probably they wanted him to play just because of necessity with McMillan being out. But he had a pretty bad weekend, and he is going to have to play better if the Red Raiders are going to continue to advance. But, yeah, Kerwin Walton was outstanding against UNCW. He picked up the slack. TJ, the other guy that I would like to highlight, and look, Kerwin deserves all of his flowers, right? I mean, he knocked down a bunch of threes. He was their leading scorer in that game. And I'm pulling up the box score here. He was excellent. But the guy that I'd like to highlight, my guy, the guy who I picked out at the beginning of the year, one Elijah Hawkins, right? Plays 40 minutes. TJ, he didn't come out of this game. Okay, he played every minute. He gets 14 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. TJ, he's like one of 9 performances in the history of the NCAA tournament from point guard to put up that stat line, and like 7 of them belong to Oscar Robinson.
Can we
So,
fake? Can we fake some kind of waiver to get Elijah Hawkins extra eligibility? Did he go
man,
to JUCO at some point?
dude, he is. I don't think, and I think,
He is the point guard that we have wanted for years.
yeah, and it was a rough start, and I was a little down on him after the first 10 games. But since about the UCF game, after that UCF game, he's just been a completely different player. And TJ, I think Red Raider Nation is waking up to how good Elijah Hawkins really is. I've been preaching it on this podcast, but um, just an outstanding game in that first game, right? And then he was really good in the second game against Drake. He did a good job on defense of really harassing Sturts and making life difficult. I think Sturts was settling for a lot of off balance, late in the shot clock, fall away, mid range jump shots, which analytically you love to give those up, right? But look, this team found a way. They shoot 28% from three in the UNCW game, and I went on SBI and on Twitter and said, look, if you're going to have the bad shooting game, right, you'll probably want to get it out of the way in the first round against a team that you can just out talent, which is what they did against UNCW. But then TJ, they turn around, they shoot it worse against Drake. And they go 14% from three. And the amazing thing about this team, TJ, is despite the fact that they shoot it, 28% in the first game, which is 10% lower than they normally do, and then they shoot it 14% in the follow-up game, they still find a way to score 82 and 77 points, respectively. Like, that's the scary thing about this offense, is that they didn't shoot it well, and they still put up 77 plus in both games. So what do they do when they actually shoot it well?
Oh, you're talking 90 north of 90.
Easily. So
Yeah.
you got to have confidence that the shots are going to go down. I'm hoping that they just didn't like the gym in Wichita, or they didn't like the rims, or whatever. But the bottom line is, TJ, and I think we're about to pivot and start talking about this upcoming weekend. Um, they are going to have to shoot the ball like they've shot the ball all year if they want to get to San Antonio. You're not going to be able to beat any of the three teams that are going to be in this little pod with you out in San Francisco, shooting the ball 14% from three and 28% from three. I think that they need to be 35% or higher to win these games, and they're certainly capable, right? They've done that all year. But this is, they played two good teams, right? Any team that makes the NCAA tournament's a good team. I think Drake's a really good team. And they handled Drake, right? 77-64. They handled the tempo that Drake wanted to play at, but you're going to have to shoot the ball better to beat these three teams that you're about to run into this weekend.
And the team, I mentioned it earlier, Coach Cal's going to have these guys ready to play. And now I wanted to get to the other side of the bracket here in San Francisco. How much of that UConn Florida game did you watch?
I did watch a lot of it, TJ. Florida, they were everybody's betting favorite coming into this tournament, even though they're the fourth one seed. They were all the national experts all picked them to win the Nets, and Florida is very good, but they didn't impress me really in either one of their games. And frankly,
I wasn't impressed.
they were in a battle against UConn. Okay, and even in the first round game in the Sweet 16 against the 16 seed, they didn't exactly just annihilate that team. So I think Florida's looked a little vulnerable. And if you'll remember, I did pick the Crab Five to beat them in the Sweet 16 in this game, and that's the first game on Thursday night. And the Crab Five almost got knocked out. I mean, it took a controversial. I don't think it was a travel, right? Anybody who knows basketball knows that guy didn't travel. But a lot of Twitter experts and referees tried to, whine for the underdog that it was travel. It was a good shot, right? I mean, the Crab Five almost went home too. So, this regional is definitely winnable for Texas Tech. I think John Fanta actually picked us. He changed his pick from Florida, and he thinks that the Red Raiders are coming out of the West. So they just got to shoot the ball well.
Yeah, and the ability that we have to mix it up, right? Like you said, early without the Kerwin Walton three balls in the early game, um, you're not in it, first of all. But then when push came to shove in that first game, where were they going? They were going to D5, they were going to Toppin, they were making plays, and
then against Drake, I mean, D5 and Toppin, take a damn bow.
those two, it was
Take a
like
damn bow.
three. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it was like, why even shoot the three? Just pound it inside. So the ability that we have to play different styles is so impressive, and I think it's going to come in handy. We win in different ways. We're battle tested, and then here comes an Arkansas team that's another double-digit seed. Like I said, I don't know that you can treat them like a double-digit
no,
seed with the talent
uh,
that they have and the
yeah,
expectations that they had coming into the season. Um, but I am definitely looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to Thursday. I will be at opening day. That is my national holiday, 3 o'clock for my Rangers. And
good for
then
you.
I was praying that we'd get the late tip. And boy, did we get the late tips. So Thursday's a big day over here with the opening day of baseball season. And then the Red Raiders kicking off uh, the Sweet 16, trying to get to the round of eight. Um, I did see. I was looking at that Arkansas game, and they don't really. Their starting five, at least, they kind of look like that Tech team from a couple years ago. That everybody's 6'6" to 6'9", kind of switching everything. Not necessarily a huge big guy that can stop JT Toppin, but we'll find out.
Yeah, TJ, I think you touched on it. This is not your typical 10 seed, and they should not be looked at like a 10 seed. This is a team that is loaded with talent. They've got NBA players on this team. They're long, they're athletic, they're very tough defensively. They're excellent at generating steals, and a lot of their game, a lot of what they rely on is generating steals to get easy run out layups and play in transition. Um, I think, despite all that, TJ, I know they're athletic and I know that they can guard. I think this is a good matchup for the Red Raiders. I really do. They're a team that, like I said, they thrive on turnovers, and the Red Raiders are one of the best teams in the country of taking care of the ball, and a lot of that comes back to Elijah Hawkins and to a lesser extent Christian Anderson. They do a really good job of handling pressure, not turning the basketball over, and I think if they can do that, and then the Red Raiders make shots like they're normally going to make shots, and I think this is a game you can win. They are favored. They're 5.5 point favorites, but do not go into this game overconfident. Arkansas is very good. Boogie Fland is a lottery pick. He's their point guard that just came back from a hand injury. He's playing limited minutes. He's not shooting the ball well because the hand's probably not 100%, but he's a very talented guy. They're probably going to have Adu Thiero back, who did not play this past weekend. He's recovering from a hyperextended knee, but Cal seemed to think that they were going getting healthy and that he was probably going to give him at least a little bit this week. I don't know that he's going to be 100% or be able to go for 35 minutes, but he's probably going to be on the floor. They have length and they can guard JT down low, but I don't think there's anybody in the country that can guard JT one on one. He's still going to get his. I think D5 has a really good matchup in this game because while they have a bunch of 6'6" to 6'7", 6'9" guys, I don't know that they have a great matchup for D5. Depending on who they put on him, D5 is either going to be able to back him down or go outside. And we know that. He creates matchup problems against every team. Um, but I think this game is really simple for Texas Tech, TJ. Make your normal amount of threes, right, and force the Arkansas defense to come out and guard you at the 3 point line, and give JT some space down low to work, and then take care of the basketball. Don't give Arkansas a bunch of cheap, easy buckets. Because TJ, while they're very good defensively, and the best man at my wedding was a Razorback, okay, and he's my best friend. We've obviously had a little bit of fun the last couple of days, texting back and forth about this game. But he will be the first to tell you there are times where Arkansas can struggle, and I mean struggle on the offensive end of the floor. They shot it even
They didn't
worse.
look like they were shooting it that well.
No, they shot it even worse from three than the Red Raiders. I think they shot it like 22% in the first game and like 10% in the second game. So they were lucky that in the second game they ran into a St. John's team that's just like them and they can't score either. So I think this is a good matchup. You got to take care of the basketball. You got to make jump shots. I think defensively the Red Raiders will do a good job of slowing down Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to struggle to score in the half court most of the time. And it's a game I think the Red Raiders are going to win. And, Coach Cal talked about getting healthy. Well, I don't know if you saw Grant McCasland's interview earlier today, but he said for the first time, his quote was, "We are finally healthy." So it sounds like Chance McMillan is good to go.
So,
Um,
so
it,
you're telling me there's a
it's not even a chance.
chance?
TJ, Chris Levels reported he's playing. McCasland's quote today, whereas last week it was like, we don't know that he has confidence to play at a high level. This week it was, we're finally healthy. And he looked at the camera, kind of nodded his head like, we're finally healthy. Sounds like Christian Anderson's over the flu or whatever the hell he had last week. JT's feeling good even after that little calf scare that he had in the second game against Drake. Sounds like D5's getting better and better. Like, we're getting healthy at the right time too. And I think that this is a game the Red Raiders win.
Man, you get to this part in the tournament and it's kind of gravy, right? You don't want to get too, as fans like we are, we talk about this, cover this team for the nation here, but you don't, if you lose a tough game to Arkansas, the season's been a good one,
Yeah,
right? Like
completely
it
agree.
just is, it is what it is. But I think this team has some more juice left in the tank.
TJ, the way that I look at it at this point is like you said, anything beyond this is gravy. Enjoy the games. If they lose, they lose. But like, they're not losing to a bad team, right? Anybody who makes a Sweet 16 and wins 2 games in the first weekend of this tournament is a good basketball team. You're not playing any spares anymore for the rest of the way in. So much of it is just, did you play well on that night, right? If they played Arkansas 10 times on a neutral floor, the Red Raiders probably are going to win 7 of them, right? If we're just being completely honest, if we look at the two teams, if they played Arkansas 10 times, both teams healthy on a neutral floor, the Red Raiders probably win it about 7, maybe 8 times. But that it doesn't matter, right? All that matters is one game, and anybody can beat anybody in one game, and that's what makes this tournament so awesome. But I think the Red Raiders have got a little bit more in them. I think Grant McCasland's got a little bit more in them. Everybody is talking up Coach Cal in this game, and Cal is a
Did you
Hall of
did you
Fame.
see that they on Twitter they ranked the top 16 coaches that are
They
left,
had
and
yeah, and they had
McCaslin
McCasland at
was
like
it was like
14.
13th.
Yeah, I think that's insane. Okay, like I think we all know how good McCasland is. That's what I was about to say. Was look, I'm not taking anything away from Coach Cal. Coach Cal is a Hall of Fame coach. He's had a great career. I always think Cal has been a little weak X's and O's wise, right? I think he's always kind of been a coach that rolls the ball out and lets his guys go play. What Cal is a phenomenal program builder. He's a phenomenal hype man, and he's a phenomenal recruiter. He's kind of like Joe McGuire, right? Where
I was gonna say, it kind of
yeah,
sounds like
Joe
Joey.
McGuire, where he's a CEO coach. He yeah, obviously he does coach in game, right? But I think anybody that's followed Cal's career, he's no Rick Pitino with the X's and O's, right? Like he's not a Tom Izzo with the X's and O's. He's just not. But he's a great recruiter. This Arkansas team is a team in his image. They're long, they're lanky, they've got multiple NBA players. They struggle from the free throw line. It's the hallmarks of your classic Coach Cal team. So you got to go in and play smart. You got to go in and protect the basketball, and you got to go in and make shots. And if you do that, this is a game you're going to win.
Yeah, I'm excited. I do think that we do move on as well here on the Nation's official podcast with TJ and Blake. Um, Real quick, plug the fact that you were on with the guys at SBI. Talk about how much fun that was.
That was so much fun, DJ. Austin had sent out a message on SBI looking for people that, I guess he the first game against UNCW, he hosted a live watch party where he had like 900 to 1,000 listeners at one point on Twitter and YouTube. And he did it by himself, which you and I both know in the media space, trying to do something by yourself for 15 minutes, let alone a 2.5 hour basketball game, is just crazy hard. And he sent out a cry for help and a bat signal. And, I was able I was lucky enough to be able to help him out. We had a lot of fun. And there's 3 of us on there. And, Logan, I think, was the third guy. And we had a lot of fun. And I'm, looking forward to potentially doing it again with him this week for the Arkansas game. The guys at SBI, if you're not a subscriber over there and you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, go subscribe to Scarlet and Black Insider. SBI is what we call it for short. Austin and RC and Jacob and all those guys over there do such a good job. I think they're the best insider side. I think they do a better job than Level. I think they do a better job than Jarrett
They're
over
already
at
breaking
240.
down the transfer portal stuff.
Yeah, they're so good on the transfer portal. They got Tobias Bass on there. Like I said, no shots and no disrespect whatsoever to Jarrett and to Chris. I think they do a great job at Red Raider Sports and 247 respectively. But I think the guys at the SBI are the best in the business for tech sports, and definitely go give them a subscribe to their website. It's absolutely worth the price of admission, the insider information that you're going to get.
Yeah, you had hit me up and you were like, tune in. And I was like, bro, I'm watching the game. When do you like tune in? And then I tuned in and there was a familiar face on there. So that was good to see. I watched a few minutes of it, but I was in my zone. I
I
was
get it.
I was in
It, it,
tourney
it
mode.
was it was a lot of fun, DJ. We had a great time. A lot of people tuned in, and we're just talking about the game as we're watching it unfold. Kind of filling time with what do we think during timeouts and media breaks, and we had a lot of fun. I think all three of us enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to potentially doing it again with them here on Thursday night, late in the evening.
Yeah, Thursday's gonna be a big day. Again,
Yeah.
I got MLB opening day. That's like that's my heart right there. And then after the Rangers probably get shut down by the Boston Red Sox because Garrett Crochet is nasty. Uh,
DeGrom isn't going to shut them down. I mean, it is DeGrom, I
oh well,
assume, right?
the ground's not pitching, but that's another podcast.
He's not pitching. Who's pitching?
Eovaldi.
Oh, okay. I guess that's fair. Is DeGrom pitching the second game? I guess.
No, they're trying to space it out to where give him a couple extra days
Okay. So he
before
is
he.
healthy though. Start the
Yeah,
year, right? I mean, okay, that's what I thought.
yeah. He's good to go. But then we get the late night tip. It's going to be awesome out there in San Francisco. And Blake, if they can find a way to get two more wins, I don't want
Home
to get
games.
ahead of ourselves.
Home games.
Home games in the Final Four. How
DJ,
crazy would that be?
can I one up you on how crazy it would be?
Yeah,
So imagine they get to the Final Four, and then somehow, now I don't think this team is going to get there, but what happens if Ole Miss finds a way to beat Michigan State and then beat their in-conference rival Auburn, and you're in a Final Four game in San
against
Antonio facing
Beard
Chris
and
Beard
Beard and
and
Adam.
Mark Adams on the other side on the other bench. I mean, you want to talk about a crazy, crazy environment. Like take what it was in Lubbock a couple of years ago when he showed up, and like you put it into a bigger arena with more Red Raiders in there. I mean, that would probably be one of, if not the craziest Final Four game environments in the history of this tournament. Now, again, I don't think Chris Beard and Mark Adams are going to get there. I think that Sparty is going to take care of them more likely than not. Um, but that would be the craziest timeline is that you get there and you face old Chris Beard and Mark Adams on the other sideline, and you just want to talk about storylines. I mean, my goodness, you talk about made for TV.
Jeff
CBS would be
Goodman. Jeff Goodman would have a heart attack.
well, CBS would be doing backflips. I mean, you want to talk about ratings and just driving interest, like Texas Tech against their two former coaches that both left unceremoniously. Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw Beans on Twitter. Coach Beans, he's a big burner account, and he had the post about Ole Miss and all of their glory. Tweeted out a picture before their first game of all their team
The
with
culture.
Beard standing there in the middle, and they said culture, and Beans quote tweeted it and said culture. Beating beating your wife and marrying your twin brother, deceased twin brother's ex-wife, culture, which I thought was a really good shot at the two of those assholes. So,
Bro, these tech burners, man, they're so good.
the tech is a force on Twitter. I think everybody who's been paying attention knows that we have one of the best Twitter fan bases uh, in the
UNC Wilmington effed around and found out.
yeah, even the resident commissioner of Big 12 Twitter, old Cyclone Larry, quote tweeted that one from Beans and gave him his flowers because
Yeah,
that
Cyclone
one
Larry's
was
been
good.
all on the Red Raider train.
Cyclone is a fan. I think
Yeah,
he's rooting for the Red Raiders at this point. So and like I said, I think anybody who follows Big 12 Twitter in addition to Tech Twitter knows he's the unofficial commissioner of the Big 12. So old
yeah,
Cyclone's got a big old following up there.
he definitely does. And before we get out of here, can we give a round of applause? And I'll tell you why in a second. Sean Miller, new head coach of the University of Texas. Well done, Chris Del Conte. Way to go get your guy. Leave our guy, Grant McCasland, alone.
TJ, I'm going to share something with you. I think I might have texted it to you a couple of days ago. Um, I know for a fact that Chris Del Conte over the last couple of weeks at least checked in with McCasland's agents and was more or less told to go pound sand, that he wasn't interested in Texas. And then I got another text that was really very interesting. That basically, I think we all, as much as we hate the University of Texas, I think we can all be fair and say that other than maybe Ohio State, the University of Texas has traditionally had as much money and resources to illegally pay players and now legally play players, as any team in the country, right? Everybody always talks about Texas money, right? And then they can just money whip people, and there's some truth to that. Well, I was told from somebody who would know that even the University of Texas now understands that they can no longer quote unquote money whip Tech. So if that just gives you more confidence with old Cody Campbell, Tech just had the number one portal class in football. They're supposedly, if you believe the rumors from other coaches and what you see on Trilly's Discord, Tech is going to have a 9 million plus war chest in NIL for basketball this offseason, which is top 5 to 10 in the country. So Texas can't even money with Tech anymore because, as I've said to you before, Cody don't speak poor.
Cody don't speak for. I love it here on the Nation's official podcast with TJ and Blake. You got to love it. And one more shot at Texas. You know, you and I do not like Texas.
No.
But it's not good news for the Red Raiders. Number one women's basketball player, Leah Chavez, Lubbock's own, picked her school today. It was not Texas Tech, but at least it was not UT. She's going to OU for the Sooners.
TJ, I think it's time for I think they gave the women's basketball coach another year because of this recruitment this year, and she had a relationship there and the local Lubbock kid. But uh, the women's program, and I'm going to put this nicely, is a dumpster fire. It has been a dumpster fire for the last 20 years. It's time for Kirby Hocutt to make a change. I don't care that they're making a little bit of a run in this secondary women's NIT, or is it the women's NIT that they're in? Is that what? Is that?
We'll
I don't
the
even know.
Women's NIT.
Whatever second tier tournament that they got invited to after, of course, once again not making the women's tournament. I don't care if they win that tournament. They need to make a change, and the girl that's been in charge needs to go, and they need to go make a better hire and get that program turned around, because you look around the state of Tech athletics, and it's the worst program we have. The softball program is solid. The baseball's not.
Baseball, yeah. Let's not talk about baseball right now.
They're not having a year, but I think Tadlock has still had a good run, and I'm going to bet on them to bounce back. Basketball's in a good spot. Football's in a good spot. Both track teams are in a good spot. Both tennis teams are good. Both golf teams are good. The women's basketball program is horrible. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. So I think it's time to make a change there when you can't even get the number one player in the country who is going to graduate from Lubbock, Monterey to stay home to play at Tech. I mean, it's just let's do something different.
I'm with that. I don't. We don't venture into the women's space here too much on the Nation's official podcast. We pretty much stick to the men's side of things for obvious reasons. They're the revenue sports, but also we have jobs. So it's not like we can cover everything.
Well, and TJ, we pretty much exclusively, we don't even cover baseball. I mean, we're pretty much exclusively a football, basketball podcast, right? Because that's all we have time. We both have jobs. I've got a 20-month-old with another one on the way in July. And so I don't have time to do more than that, but I will make that comment about the women's program. It's time to do something different.
No doubt about it. Thursday is the big day. And Red Raiders play Arkansas. Coach Cal, we're hopeful. Maybe Chance McMillan, my guy,
no, he's playing. There. He's playing, TJ. I don't think it's hopeful.
You're pounding the fist. He's playing.
He's playing, and he's good. He's 100% good to go. I mean, like I said, the quote from McCasland that we're finally healthy spoke volumes to me today. He doesn't say that if he doesn't have a healthy, because he hasn't said that. If you listen to anything he's been saying the last 3 weeks, it's, well, we'll see, and we're trying to get him back, and we'd love to have him, about both D5 and Chance. But the quote today from San Francisco was, "We're finally healthy," and I think that speaks volumes to anybody that's been paying attention.
Well, that's exciting. I know. Hey, whatever happens this weekend, we'll do at least one more pod to come on back and wrap
Absolutely.
this
And
thing
if
up.
they lose, they lose, right? If they don't
Yeah.
get to a Final Four, they don't get to a Final Four. If they lose to Arkansas, they lose. It's been a great year. They checked every box that you wanted them to check. Enjoy the ride. It's going to be a stressful night on Thursday. There's going to be, try not to get too high or too low. There's, each team is going to have runs, right? There's going to be moments where it looks like Tech might run away with it, and then there's going to be moments where Arkansas looks like they might run away with it. Just buckle up and enjoy it, because anything at this point is gravy. They've had a great year. They've ticked every box that you would have asked them to tick, and now it's just, hey, can you go find a way to win 2 basketball games against San Antonio? Survive in advance. Doesn't have to be pretty.
And we can get more into this next week as we kind of either wrap it up or preview the Final Four. But what are you hearing, and what are the chances? We're thinking JT's a lotto pick, right? And what are the chances of a D5 return for another year?
So I think their number one priority in the portal this offseason is Christian Anderson. With all due respect to D5, I think they're going to let D5 go through his process. He's going to enter the NBA Combine. He's going to go compete that weekend and get feedback from the scouts, and he might end up going into the draft. I'll say this. If he plays college basketball next year, I don't think Tech will not be outbid for him. So if he plays college basketball, it's likely he comes back to Tech. If he doesn't come back to Tech and he's playing college basketball, it's not because he was getting more money from anywhere else. And that's despite them making Christian Anderson their number one priority. The only reason you would make Christian Anderson your number one priority is, as much as you would love to have D5 back, you can't go into the transfer portal, which is now live. And there's some names that the Red Raiders that are connected to that's really exciting. Um, but you can't go and build your roster going into next year banking on D5, right? I think you build your roster, you go get the guys you want to get and that you're going to prioritize, and then if D5 decides he's going to play college basketball, you find a way to come up with the money to pay him. And if that's a call to Cody or a call to Womble or whoever, you can come up with the 1.5 million you need to keep D5 here. And I think somebody would step up and pay that. But I don't think you can prioritize him. And that's not I don't say that as a disrespect to D5. He's been my guy since he stepped on this team last year from Nevada. I know that. And I love his game, but I just don't think you can prioritize him coming back when he's going to go, and rightfully so, go through the draft process.
I got it. Well, you heard it here first here on the Nation's official podcast. Lot of fun going on. Blake, it was fun as always. How do we always get out of here, bud?
Wreck him.
Wreck 'em. Good luck to the squad on Thursday.
Go get it done, boys.